Welcome to the Reloaded Workshop video tutorial part 5. In this video we'll be going over the target calculator, which is being introduced with version 1.1 of Reloaded Workshop. Now version 1.1 is a free upgrade, so current users of Reloaded Workshop version 1.0 will get this update for free along with a few other things sometime in late May of 2016. The target calculator can be used in one of two ways. First, it can be used as a standalone target calculator. So you could take any target that you happen to have, take a picture of it, and use it to calculate your group sizes and whatnot. The second way you can use it is to actually record batch test data. So if you've done a 5-round group, for instance, with a particular batch of ammunition and you want to record the results, you can use the target calculator to automatically record your group size. Now let's try it in a standalone version first. Up here on the Tools menu, you'll see the target calculator is the last option there. Now you'll notice it also has a shortcut key, F11. So no matter which tab you're on, you can always just hit F11 and bring up the target calculator. Now when you bring it up, you'll see a screen like this one here, the dialog like this. Now up here on the upper left we have our input data, which is essentially just the range that you shot the target at and the caliber of the firearm that you used to shoot it. So we're going to start with a handgun target shot at 25 yards, and this was with a 45 auto. Now over in the upper right we have our output data, and all of this is calculated for you as we fill in the shots on the target itself. Below that we have the mode. In this case we're in the load target image mode because we haven't loaded our target yet. And then we have a series of options that we can use to modify the way the target is displayed. Now if I move the mouse down here into the picture box, my target box here, you'll see that it gives me the mouse cursor changes to an image of an image, telling me that I need to load an image. I could also come up here to File and select Open Target Image to open the target. Okay, but I'm just going to go ahead and place my mouse in the target image box here and left click. And that'll bring up my Open dialog, or File Open dialog, and it's on my targets repository here. I'm going to go ahead and open this target up here. This is the target I shot at 25 yards with a 45 auto. And you'll see it puts that image in the target box. Up here you see my mode has changed to Set Scale. In order to be able to calculate group sizes, the Reloaded Workshop needs to know how big this target is or what kind of scale we're using. So what I'm going to do is, I happen to know that each of these lines is exactly 1 inch apart, and this center red part here, the bullseye, is 2 inches in diameter, or 2 inches across anyway. So I'm going to move my mouse pointer, I have mail, over here to the left, and I'm going to left click. And I'm going to hold that down, and I'm going to move my mouse pointer across until I get to this line here. And then I'm going to let go. And it's going to ask me, how long is that line? Well, the line starts here and ends here, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches from the beginning of the line to the end of the line. So I'm going to go ahead and put in 6. Now once I've done that, you'll see the calibration scale down at the bottom here, and it tells me basically what kind of scale I'm using for my shots. You'll also notice that the mouse pointer has now changed to a reticle that you might see in a rifle scope. Okay, up here on the left you see my mode is Mark Aim Point. What it wants to know here is what point of the target was I aiming at when I shot this target. Well, I'm going to put it right here in the center of the bullseye and left click. And what that'll do is that'll put a little green reticle there. It's telling me that's my aim point. So that green reticle is my aim point. You'll also notice that my mouse pointer has now changed to a little circle with a reticle in the middle. Okay, that's a 45 caliber sized shot marker. Now, if I were to change my caliber, let's say to 223 Remington, you'll notice my shot marker gets much smaller because a 223, of course, is roughly half of a 45 auto. So I'm going to go ahead and change this back to 45 auto, and that gives me the correct sized shot marker for a 45 auto. Now, I've got a shot right here, and I'm going to use that shot marker to kind of center my reticle over the impact point of that shot, and left click, and you'll see it'll leave a shot marker there. And I come up to my second shot and mark that one. Now you'll notice as soon as I mark the second shot, you see this red reticle show up here. I'll explain what that is in a minute, but you'll see that moving around here as I mark my shots. Now my third shot is right here. My fourth shot is there, and my fifth shot is right there. Now you'll notice that that red reticle here has been moving around as I mark my shots. What that's telling me is that is the average center point of all the shots. Okay, so it gives me kind of a mean center of my grouping. Okay, it's closer to, I've got 4 shots all grouped up in this area up here, so the red reticle is closer to those 4 shots, even though I have a shot out here. It's not giving me the geographical center of my shots, it's giving me the average center of my shots. Okay, that's an important distinction. Now, once I have my shots marked up here, if I look up here under group size, you'll see my group size is 1.5 inches. Minute of angle is 5.730. Since it's only at 25 yards, the MOA is much higher. And 1.666 mils. My mean offset, now this is the mean offset from the aim point, is 0.88 inches to the left and 1.5 inches high. And you'll see that that's exactly where that red reticle is. So I could actually, if this were a rifle, I could actually use that value to adjust my scope. In other words, I would want to adjust my scope 0.88 inches to the left and 1.5 inches high. And what that'll do is, or up, and what that'll do then is move my center point down to my aim point, and that'll result in my group being all around the aim point, or being able to shoot around the aim point as opposed to up here. Okay, so that's how you can use that mean offset. The group box is 0.89 inches wide by 1.49 inches tall. Okay, so from the shot on the left to the shot on the right, it's 0.89 inches. From the shot at the bottom to the shot at the top, it's 1.49 inches. Okay. Now, I can use these options up here, these option check marks, to change the way my target looks. For instance, if I don't want the scale to be there, I can turn off the scale. If I don't want my aim point shown, I can turn off the aim point. I can also turn off the mean offset. So if I have everything turned off, all my options turned off, all I see are the shots that I've marked using my shot marker. Okay. Now, I'm going to go ahead and turn those 3 things back on. I can also show the group extremes. And what that does is it draws a line between the 2 shots that are being used to indicate my group size. So these 2 shots here are 1.50 inches apart, and those are the most extreme 2 shots. You know, if I, between here and say this shot, my third shot, that would be less than 1.5 inches. So this is only showing the extremes. I can also choose to show my group box, and this shows the group box that encompasses all 5 of the shots that I've used, and that group box is 0.89 inches wide by 1.49 inches tall. Okay, and I can also, instead of just showing the shot markers, little circles with the reticle, I can actually show the shot numbers. So here I have shot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and these are in the order that I marked the shots. Okay, so those are the options that I have available to me, and that's generally how the target calculator is operated. It's very simple. I load a target, I set the scale, I set my aim point, and I mark my shots. Now, let's go back to just after I've loaded my target image. The calibration, if you'll notice, I'm going to go ahead and start the calibration here where I did before. You'll notice at the beginning the line is red. Until I get out to a certain point, the line turns green. Well, that line needs to be at least 300 pixels. If I leave it like this while it's still red, it'll give me a little error telling me my scale line is only 132 pixels long. You must mark a line at least 300 pixels. Okay, so when you're doing your calibration line, make sure that the line has turned green before you let go of the mouse pointer. Okay. Now, another problem you may run into, you'll notice here I'm in my mark aim point mode, and you'll notice the reticle is black. Well, if I'm on a black target, that doesn't show up very well. You see here, you can barely see the thing. If it wasn't going over those white lines, you wouldn't know where it was at all. Well, up here on the edit menu, we have preferences. And I can change the colors of all the different markers that I have on my target. For instance, here is my reticle color. If I click on that, I can change my reticle, say, to yellow. Okay? And now my reticle is yellow, and I can see it no matter where it is on the target. So if you have a target that has a black background like this one, you wouldn't want to use your use a black reticle. You'd want to use some other color. Now notice on the preferences page, there's a checkbox here called Change This Target Only. Now if I normally use a target with a white background, I want my reticle color to be black for the majority of the targets that I'm going to use. But if I happen to use one with a black background like this one, and I only want to change my preferences for this target, I can turn that on, and that way the reticle color will only be turned yellow for this target. For any other target, it'll be black or whatever the defaults are. And I can always restore the defaults by clicking Restore Defaults, and that'll take all the colors back to the default colors. Okay. Other colors I can change, for example, my scale bar background right now is yellow. There's my foreground color over here is black, and it shows me the black characters on a yellow background here on my background scale color. Now I like a more subdued yellow. I may want to change that to a lighter yellow. And you can see down at the bottom here, my scale bars change colors to a lighter yellow. So it's a little more subdued, and you can use that. So that gives you a lot of flexibility as far as being able to see the markers, like your shot markers and your scale bar and aim point and so on, against a target that has a background other than, say, white. Okay. The group box is another thing that may not show up as well. I'm going to go ahead and mark my center line here. Now I have my shot pointer. Now the shot pointer, of course, is going to be sized based on the caliber that I select up at the top. Okay, so you'll notice though that the shot marker, the hole that the bullet makes in the paper, is a little smaller than the shot marker. Well, that's normal. That's because once the bullet goes through the paper kind of stretches as it goes through, and then once it's through, it retracts again, and So you end up with a hole that's actually smaller than the bullet in the paper. So what you can do though is on this one it's one of those reactive targets where it has like a little white background around the impact point. I can use the shot marker to kind of get the edges of the shot marker about equidistant from the edges of the splash on the target all the way around in order to center my shot so that it's centered around the impact point. Okay, so the size of the bullet is going to be a little bit bigger than the actual hole that you see in your target, and that's normal. Now on a target like this, for instance, where the splash on the reactive part of the target is white and my shot marker is white, that also becomes kind of an issue as far as being able to see it. So I can change my shot color. Instead of white, I'll use black, for example. And you can see now that my shot marker is black. And I'll also want to change my shot 4 color to something other than black so that I can see the shot numbers. If I decide to show the shot numbers, then I'll be able to see it. Set the shot markers to yellow in this case. Okay, so you've got a lot of flexibility in the colors that you use. Okay. Now, let's say I've marked all my shots. Go ahead and mark the others here real quick. Once I've marked all my shots and I've got my target looking the way I want it, I can print this target by selecting Print off the File menu or by using the shortcut Control-P. And what that'll do is give me a printout of this target. Now I know, a lot of times if I have a particularly good target or if I come home from a competition, I may want to save my target that I used in that competition, and I'll save those. I have a little folder of targets. Well, it's a lot easier to save an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that has all my shots marked, it has all my group size, my group box, my mean offset, all the information about that target is shown on my printout. So instead of having to save the actual target that I shot at, I can take a picture of the target, say with my phone, and print it out, and then I have a much easier way to store the target. Now you'll notice that the target looks exactly the way it was when I marked it up. But if I don't want the shot IDs to show, I want the shots to show. If I want my group box, my group extremes to display, maybe I'll change the preferences for my group box to yellow, since it's got that black background, so it shows up a little bit better. Maybe turn off the scale. I get it looking the way I want it to look, and then when I print it, it'll look that way. So when it does the printout, it prints it exactly the way that you see it on the target dialog. So you can set it up the way you want to see it on your printout beforehand, and then print it, and you'll see it look that way on the printout. Now, other information you may want to store about your target. We have some target details that we can set. For example, we have the date that the target was shot. For instance, the shooter here was Kevin. I used a specific firearm. I can select a firearm from my firearms database. It's in Reloader's Workshop. I used my Safari Arms 1911. I did this at a place called Shoot Straight, which is here in Orlando. And this was just practice. Okay. And I'll go ahead and it shows me my shot data here. Each individual shot, how far off it was from the aim point, the distance from the aim point, the MOA and mils from the aim point, just as a reference, so I can see the details on each individual shot as opposed to seeing only details about the group. Okay. Now I'll save those details. And now if I come over here to print, you'll see up at the top here it says shot by Kevin at Shoot Straight on 6/2/2016 with a Safari Arms 1911 government model handgun chambered for .45 auto. So it gives me a lot more information about, you know, where I shot it, who shot it, what I shot it with, on the printout. So I get all of that on my printout as well. Now, once you've got your target the way you want it and you're ready to save it, you may want to, you can save all the details about this particular target by going to File, Save, and that'll open up the Save dialog. And what it'll do here is it'll fill in the file name based on all the details that it has. For instance, here it's put in a suggested file name. It puts the date first. Here, a dash and the name of the shooter, Kevin. This was practice with Safari Arms 1911 government model at Shoot Straight. So it gives me a file name that describes the target and all the details it knows about the target. Okay. Now, if I didn't put in all those details, for example, let me get rid of the shooter name, where I shot it. Okay. Now if I go to print, you'll see that up here it just says shot on 6/2/2016 with a Safari Arms. It doesn't show me the name of the shooter and the place that I shot it. And it also does the same thing when I go to save the target. The suggested file name now just says the date and practice with a Safari Arms 1911 government model. So the more details that I can give the target, or give the target file, the better the file name suggestion is. Also, the better the printout looks, or the more information is on the actual printout. Okay, so simply by going in here and adding target details, I can get a lot more information in there. I also have a space for notes, so I can put in some notes about maybe how well that particular load was working for me, or, you know, I had a number of misfires, or for whatever reason, you know, whatever notes you want to take about that particular session with that particular load. And, you know, if you're in an outdoor range, you may want to put in the weather information, like, you know, it was windy that day, or, you know, that's why my shots are all over the place, that sort of thing. Okay. Just a couple of final notes I thought I'd throw in. One, if you're using a target that has markings on it to show you, you know, inches, for example, it's fairly easy to set your calibration by using the lines that are on the target itself. For instance, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 inches. That makes it very easy to set your calibration. Now, what happens though if you have a target that has no markings on it? For instance, sometimes I'll just take a blank piece of paper and I'll use a pen to mark an aim point on it and start shooting at that. You know, it's fairly inexpensive to shoot at a blank piece of paper, or, you know, some people shoot at those little white paper plates, that kind of thing. Mark an aim point on it. Here I got my aim point marked with a pen. And what I do when I have this situation, in order to use it with a target calculator, is I'll lay a tape measure on the target and then take a picture of it with a tape measure on it, and then I can use that tape measure to set my calibration. Here I have a 6-inch line based on that tape measure, and that makes it it's an easy way to set my calibration. And then I can set my aim point to the little pen mark I have on there. This was 308 Winchester, so I'll mark my shots with this one, and it gives me the group sizes, and so I don't need to have, you know, a target that has its own markings on it. I can just, you know, put a tape measure down on the target and take a picture. Now, what happens if you don't have a tape measure? Well, in some cases, what I'll do is I'll throw a pack of cigarettes on the target. Now I happen to know that this pack of cigarettes is exactly 4 inches from the bottom to the top. So I'll use that pack of cigarettes as my calibration. Go from the bottom of the pack to the top. That's 4 inches. Okay, I'll mark my center point, and then I'll mark my shots. Okay, and there I have it. So you don't need to have a target that has markings on it in order to set your calibration. It's very easy to use a tape measure, or in this case, a pack of cigarettes, or really anything that you know the size of. If you know a particular dimension of a particular object, just put it on the target, then take your picture. Now, as far as those pictures go, for example, if I take a photo of a target with my phone and I load it directly off my phone into the target calculator, well, what happens later on if I have my phone disconnected from the computer and I want to look at this target? Well, the image is stored with the target file. So it doesn't matter. Once you've taken a picture and you either grab it off of your phone or you transfer it from your phone to your computer somewhere, if you delete that picture later on, or you disconnect your phone, or for whatever reason that photo is no longer available, that's okay. As long as you've saved the target using the target calculator, you can always get that target back, and it saves the photo of the target with the other target information, like the shot markers, the aim point, and target details, and so on. For example, here I can go to open. No, I don't want to save changes, and I'll open that target that we used earlier, and I can get everything back with all the markings, with all the settings that I had set for that particular target when I saved it. All the target details are still there. So everything is saved with the target file, including the image. So don't worry about your images, deleting the image when you're done with it or disconnecting your phone. All of that's done for you. Okay. So that's generally how the target calculator works. Whether you're using it as a standalone or as using it to store batch test information, it operates the same way. Now, let's go over here to my batch editor, and let's use it to record batch data, or batch test data. Okay, I'm going to edit this batch. I'm going to go to test data, and you'll see down here under test data, it has a target calculator button. Well, the number of shots, the distance, and the best group information can be gleaned from the target calculator. So if I load up a target and I set my scale and set all my markings and whatnot, go ahead and do that real quick. Oh, it only allows me to select 308 Winchester because that batch was 308 Winchester, so I'll just mark the holes as if they were 308 Winchester. Okay. Then I'll okay, and you'll see here that the number of shots, the range, and the group information has all been stored for me in the target calculator by getting it from the target calculator. So I don't have to enter that information manually. It does it from the target calculator. Now, also, it automatically saves that batch's target information. So if I go back to the target calculator, it goes right back to the data that I had, or the information that I had in the target file. It also tells me this is the batch 11 target file up at the top there. Okay. If I look at the target details, the event has been set to batch 11 testing. So I can't change the event here because it assumes that this was used with batch 11 testing. It puts in the rifle that I used. If I put in the shooter name and location, say this was at Strickland gun range. Oops. Okay, and I say OK, and OK. you'll see here that it puts in the firearm that I selected in the target calculator. It also puts in the location that I typed into the target calculator. So the information that's in the batch test can be, I can just go to the target calculator, put in my information there, or mark up the calculator, and it will fill in my batch test data from that. Now the only thing it can't do is fill in the muzzle velocity. So I have to go into the shot data dialog and fill in my muzzle velocities. But that's something separate from the target. Okay, so that's all there is to using it in the batch test. I just go to my batch test editor, I select the target calculator, and I use the target calculator exactly the same way as I would if I were using it as standalone, and it'll fill in my batch test data for me. And that's it. Nothing more to it. It's very, very simple. Whether I'm using it as a standalone or for batch test, operates the same way, and it's just incredibly easy to use. That's all for this video. I hope you liked it. If so, please click the like button. Maybe even subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, and happy reloading.